TruthSeekah and/or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and/or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah podcast.
Gargoyles! Psychics! Everything's ungodly! Dark savage!
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian!
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark-sided stuff!
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm TruthSeekah. This is the TruthSeekah podcast. Excited and delighted to be with you guys again today. Going to get into some spiritual conversation, some self-help, and moving from one level to the next, we need to find inner peace and inner healing. Many people are trying to find that in many different things than going directly to the source and dealing with the problem, some of the roots that we have in our lives, even since childhood. I've got some experience with that, and we're going to have our guest on today. We're going to cover this topic in detail, so stick around for that. Before we go any further, I got to say a huge thank you to all the supporters, everybody who is essentially an enabler. You enable this podcast. I couldn't do this without you. So everybody supporting my work over there on Patreon, thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Give a shout out to some of the newest patrons that we have within the last week or so. Shout out to Cody Beck. Thank you for coming on with your pledge. Rise, thank you for coming on. Reno, I love the one-namers. Rise, Reno, there's so many people. Let's see, Robert Gazamini. I know I butchered that name. I always do. I'm sorry. Robert, thank you for coming on. And yeah, those are the and Jeremy Bartz. Thank you guys for supporting my work, believing in what I'm doing, and forgive me for butchering the names. Yeah, I just put out a new album, Seer, which was almost 3 months ago now. And now we're getting into some of the promo for it. So I'm getting ready to shoot some more videos and release some more stuff for that. Also working on new music still. I got a couple songs that are in the fire right now that we're currently working on. So within the next few weeks, you should see some new music over there on Patreon. If you sign up to support, you get access to my entire discography, which is 10 plus albums. You get extra podcasts, interviews, exclusive stuff. We got the community aspect of what we're doing. We have the Discord, which is really fun. This is the community aspect of what we're building and hanging out daily. Every morning, we have conversation in Discord, and we really look forward to that, encouraging one another and just building in the spirit over there. Also, you get access to Thursday night School of the Mystics for any level of giving. You get access to that, so it's good stuff. Make sure that you guys go over there and at least check it out. Patreon.com/TruthSeekah. Again, I couldn't do it without you guys. So, moving forward, welcome to the show, Nick Kidawski. Did I get it?
Yeah, you got it.
Awesome, bro. It took me a second. Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Derek.
Definitely, man. So, talking about healing, talking about releasing emotional baggage, energy, negative energy. You know, I think that maybe something good to get into after we talk about releasing the negative stuff. If we're releasing something, I think we should be receiving something as well, right? So that may be, you know, good to get into here at the end. But let's start off, man, a little bit about who you are, what you do, what you bring to the table, man. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, thanks. So, you know, basically to give you my background and why I got into healing, when I was little, I always knew that I was sensitive to energy. And, you know, I had an experience when I was little and I walked into my bedroom and I could immediately feel a presence there. And I didn't know how I felt it, I just did. So I started to look around my room, and it ended up that one of my brothers was hiding in my closet just to kind of like play a trick on me, you know? So I kind of thought like, wow, how did I sense that presence? How did I sense that energy? Um, so fast forward a couple of years, and I ended up a number of years ago studying Reiki, which is an energy healing modality. Couple of years after that, I ended up getting into massage therapy. So I was a massage therapist for 9 years. And during that time, I worked with a lot of people that, you know, obviously were in a lot of physical pain, you know, work accidents, car accidents, things like that. And when I did massage, I knew that when I was working with them, I was working the correct muscles that were in pain. And when they would leave, sometimes people would get better, and sometimes they would come back to me in the same pain. So, you know, I thought, okay, if it isn't something physical going on, like tight muscle, then maybe it's something emotional. So that kind of got me to explore that path. And then, you know, the second piece of this was that my mother, unfortunately, a number of years ago in 2010, was diagnosed with uterine cancer. So, you know, I was her caregiver during all of that, and she was in a lot of pain because she ended up going through chemotherapy and radiation. And it was during that period that I wished I could just take away her pain because I knew for her, part of it was emotional. So these experiences ended up leading me to study an energy healing modality called the emotion code. And the emotion code is basically the whole idea behind it is that when we go through an overwhelming experience, we can trap or store emotions in our body. And then these emotions, they end up causing different imbalances in our body, and they can lead to acute and chronic pain and also just other imbalances as to how we kind of show up in the world. So the emotion code is a way to identify specifically what those emotions are. You know, oftentimes when they got trapped in the body, and then release them, release that emotional baggage so that we're no longer carrying it with us. And as a result, acute and chronic pain can decrease or just completely go away. It can completely change someone's outlook or attitude on life. And then a second piece to what I do to that is I'm also a certified holistic educator. So basically what that means is after I release these trapped emotions for someone, I find that their specific body systems need some support on a physical level. So what I do is I put them on a specific herbal program to start to bring their body systems back into balance. And so that not only works on a physical level, but it works on an emotional level as well, because, you know, the different organs in our body, they have different emotional connections as well. So that's basically what I do in a nutshell.
It's interesting, man. I've studied philosophy and religion and spirituality and different spiritual paths and stuff. And so I'm starting to find, I guess I study syncretism, is to study what makes us all the same and what ties it together versus religion teaches you to study what makes you different, right? Okay, we're different because this is us, but if you step back and look at it, a lot of stuff is similar. You're talking about Reiki healing. I look in the Bible and look at hands-on healing, speaking to the ailment, speaking to the what the Bible would call a spirit of infirmity, which would be some type of blockage of negative energy, strongholds in the mind that we're holding on to, these belief systems that I'll never get better. You know, if someone who has cancer thinks that God's given up on them, I'm gonna die this way, those type of deals, and seeing like how everything works together, even in like a religious setting, people who have come down with cancer, if they are religious or they attend a place of worship, the percentage rate of them getting better by just simply believing that they're going to, the statistics increase of them getting healthier. There's been so many studies done on that, even on cancer.org. They've got big studies on it about how religion and spirituality plays a big part in healing. We talk about Reiki, we talk about laying on of hands, releasing the emotional baggage. I went through something years ago called they called it in Christianity Christian prophetic prayer counseling. It's also known as deliverance, where you go throughout your like a life review, and they give you these forms, and okay, did you ever feel like this? Like they go into like weird thought patterns and stuff. Have you ever felt like you had cancer? That's weird. Like, have you ever had the thought that you had cancer, but there's no symptoms, though? But has that thought ever crossed your mind? And it goes into some of the deep compartments of the mind and things that you've been through your whole life. And I thought it was exclusive because I was introduced to it through Christianity, but come to find out, man, all of these spiritual healers, Reiki practitioners, it's something very similar. It's universal, that is dealing with the human condition, the human mind, and the way that we store memories and emotional baggage through trauma. Usually, if we're looking at that, like if you're taking someone down through there, that's what they did. They made us fill out this form. They prayed over it, took a couple of days, really took it serious, and then went into the healing. We did it through prayer, visualization, see yourself. They seen Jesus as a higher power speaking healing to that part of your body, or those thoughts, or those soul wounds and things like that. That's what it looked like, what I went through. What would it kind of look like if you was to take somebody through there who maybe had trauma, childhood abuse, they were molested or something like that? What would that practice look like on a one-on-one setting to release that energy?
Yeah, certainly. So with the emotion code, I do my sessions over the phone with clients. So basically what happens is I set my intent to energetically connect to them, and then we're connected. So to find specifically what the trapped emotions are, I use something called muscle testing or kinesiology. And kinesiology just basically means science of movement. So some chiropractors will use it, doctors, physical therapists, for example. And it's a very easy way to get a yes or a no answer from the body, but more importantly, from the subconscious mind. So when I'm connected with that person, I can ask, are there trapped emotions that we can release for you right now that are contributing to your childhood trauma, for example? And, I'll get a yes. So from there, I have a chart of 60 emotions. Let me see if I can show this in the camera to you. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so these are, this is a chart of 60 emotions that we can possibly trap in our body. So from there, it's basically doing like a process of elimination. So saying, okay, is this trapped emotion in column A? Is it in column B? And let's say it's in column A, for example. Okay, is it in row 1, row 2, row 3, so on and so forth? And eventually the person's subconscious will lead me to a specific emotion. So let's say that emotion is fear. So from there, sometimes their subconscious mind wants to know a little bit more about that trapped emotion. So maybe specifically where it's trapped in the body. So it could be trapped in one of the muscles, in one of the bones. It could be trapped in one of the chakras, in one of the meridians, um, in one of the glands, for example. The subconscious sometimes also wants to know exactly what age this emotion became trapped in the body. So I can go back and say, okay, this emotion of fear, it became trapped for you between the age of, 25 and 30, and then we can narrow it down further. So once we find a specific age, um, sometimes I'll ask the client, is there anything around that age that you can think of where you felt that emotion very strongly? And sometimes they can think of a particular event, and sometimes they can't, which it's okay. In the sense, and when they do think of a particular event, they'll often say to me, "Oh, geez, that happened like years ago, and I thought that I let it go." But it's like, well, no, you're still holding those trapped emotions in
Yeah.
your body, and they're vibrating in your body 24 hours, 7 days a week, until it's finally released. So then to release the trapped emotion, what I do, since we're energetically connected, is there's a meridian in the body, a line of energy called the governing meridian. And this meridian goes basically over the top of our head and down the back of our body. And that meridian is connected to all of the other energy channels or meridians in our body. So to release the trapped emotion for the client, I just pass my hand a couple of times over that governing meridian on myself. And since we're energetically connected, that emotion is then released for them. So it actually takes just a couple of seconds. But what's really cool about it is when that emotion is released, they will sometimes let me know that they feel lighter, almost like they've kind of been unburdened of that emotion. And sometimes if they're in pain, they will often notice that that pain will start to decrease because in the sense of pain, the body sees that trapped emotion as some sort of blockage or some sort of interference. So once that trapped emotion is released, then the body can start to heal itself. So once all trapped emotions are released for that client that we can release in a session, then their energy is balanced. So I'm not only releasing trapped emotions from the muscles and tissues and organs, but also from the different chakras or energy centers that I find out of balance. Because when a chakra goes out of balance, it's primarily due to some sort of emotional experience that gets stuck in that energy center. So once their energy is balanced, then from there, I will muscle test their different body systems. And with the herbal consulting, the reason that I work with body systems is because body systems, when they go out of balance, that is where symptoms start to begin. So I'll test their different body systems to see which body systems are underactive. And then there's usually one body system that's causing all the others to be underactive. So I will choose a number of herbs and herbal formulas that have been historically shown to start to bring that body system back into balance. And then I'll support other body systems as needed. So from there, the herbs can definitely help with supporting something like a trauma or a childhood abuse. Because in that case, for example, what I'll do is I might give them herbs that can help to calm their nervous system. I might give them herbs that will support their adrenal glands because when someone is in a trauma, you know, their nervous system is always going to be at a heightened state, right? It's always going to be in a sympathetic response. So when that happens, their adrenal glands are constantly going to be pumping out like cortisol to decrease any sort of inflammation in their body. So by supporting their adrenal glands, it gives them a little bit of energy to help to heal, but also to start to heal from that trauma or from that, from that childhood abuse. So that's kind of basically how I work with clients.
Yeah.
And then there are a number of variations on that, kind of based on what they come to me with.
Awesome, man. I'm gonna pick that apart a little bit because I got a bunch of questions, and I think a lot of my questions are based off of just what I've seen and the way that I've done things, and then wanting to see how it relates, almost just like the syncretism as well. But
yeah, perfect.
So the emotions and the energy and stuff like that, once you locate where it's stored, how is it released? Is it released through massage? Is it voice activated? Do you command it? Do you speak to it? Or do you let that person give it up? Essentially, not like you're going to take that away from them, but they have to give it up of their own free will. How does that look once you locate, let's just say if it was in the arm or something, there was something that happened there, whether it was a wreck or an accident, something that, their dad grabbed them by their arm and shook them when a kid. So now there's this weird energy stuck there. Would you massage it out? Do you speak to it to leave? How does that work?
Yeah, so because the client and I are energetically connected, like I was saying, there's a main meridian or energy channel in the body called the governing meridian. And so that goes from kind of the forehead over the top of the head and all the way down the belly. And so that meridian is connected to all the other energy channels in the body. So since we are energetically connected, what I do is I just run my hand over the top of my head and down the back of my body a couple of times with the intent to release that trapped emotion for them. And then once that's done, that trapped emotion is then released for them. See, what's happening is when I'm going through and I'm finding whatever trapped emotion that might be, when we land on a specific emotion, what's happening is it's bringing that trapped emotion from their subconscious mind up into their conscious mind to say, oh yeah, there is something there that I can release. And so in that moment, that the release of that trapped emotion actually starts to happen a little bit. And then, like I said, I just run my hand a couple of times over the governing meridian, and then that trapped emotion is released for them. And like I said, what that looks like on their end is sometimes they feel lighter. Sometimes if they are feeling pain in their arm, they'll notice that the pain starts to decrease, as those trapped emotions are released.
There's a lot of I would say maybe levels, I don't know what you would call it, but there's different some things maybe cause the symptom could be a headache, some is sabotaging relationships. Like these are all like symptoms of things that have happened to us because we have this negative energy. When it's released, I seen on the chart there, some said crying and things like that. I know some people would just say, oh, I just feel lighter, I feel good. But some of this stuff, like if you're 40, 50 years old, even 20 years old, and there's some things that's been with you since you was a kid, from what I've seen, and what I've seen is, delved into the supernatural and the religious as well. There'll be crying, screaming at times, something really deep that you almost, some people like to bring the patient back to the point of pain and make them like relive it. It gets like, it's weird how some people do it. And I've seen crazy manifestations. We've seen like split personalities come out, and you're now dealing with the split personality, what we would call demons manifesting, these type of things. Have you ever had any of that, or has it all been just with ease and grace and easy, or has it ever got intense where people wanted to leave, or they started shouting or getting anger and gritting teeth and stuff like that? Does that happen as well?
I would say mostly it's done with ease and grace, thank God. But, anytime you do any sort of healing, whether it's emotion code, Reiki, massage, acupuncture, chiropractic, whatever, the body is going to need to integrate that for a period of time. So what it looks like with doing emotion code work is after the emotion code session, sometimes people have noticed that they will have memories of their past kind of pop into their mind a couple of days after, like stuff that they haven't thought of in a super long time. And that's just a way of their subconscious mind integrating everything. A couple of times after emotion code work, I've noticed some clients, they can have some pretty strong emotions come up. And in that case, what I find is sometimes there are one or two trapped emotions that kind of get in the way for some reason of the healing process completing. So what I'll do for them is I'll find out what those one or two trapped emotions are, and then I'll release them for them. And then once that happens, that helps to complete that healing process, and then it's a lot easier for them. So, as far as the integration process being very intense for a lot of clients, I don't really notice that very much. I do notice, though, when I put them on an herbal program afterwards, because each one of the organs are connected to emotions. So to give you an example, I always put someone on liver support. And the reason for that is because on a physical level, our liver has so many different jobs. It helps with kind of clearing toxins from our body. If we're on any sort of medication, all of that has to go through the liver. Our liver makes the majority of cholesterol in our body. On an emotional level, if the liver is in a stressed state, someone emotionally is going to feel angry, irritable, aggressive, and that might come out outwardly, but they also might just hold all that inside. When the liver becomes underactive, then someone is going to feel depressed or withdrawn or, sad. They just might not feel like being around a whole lot of people. So for a lot of people, their liver, it's in an underactive state. So when I recommend herbs that have been historically shown to start to bring the liver back into balance, and their liver starts to come into balance, it will oftentimes go from being underactive to stressed. And so that shows up in the emotional body as them starting to feel like really angry or irritable, or it might start to touch into some anger or irritability that they stuffed down years and years ago, but now it's coming up for release because the body is starting to heal and it's starting to get better. So all the stuff that they kind of stuffed down for years and years can come up now and finally be released. So that's, that sometimes happens, like I said, as they start, taking herbs that resonate with their body, to help it to start to heal. So I just find it so fascinating how we're so complex and, how healing can just take so many different forms.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm just sitting here reading the chat as we're live, and a lot of people are talking about sound healing, music. Some people just use God. They go straight to God and just like release it, because I guess you have to understand the healing. Like I would think that it's people who need help, and even if you understand it, like there's stuff you need help dealing with, but once you understand healing, you can release it. You know when you're getting angry. You know when bitterness is coming, and you don't let it sit in. You don't let it just move down somewhere in your body. You release it. As soon as you get angry, as soon as someone wrongs you, you don't hold it in as offense. So that's very smart as far as going to your creator and doing that. Let me ask you this. So I want to talk to you about the breath and see if there's anything with the breath that goes on with allotropic breathing, people not breathing right. The word spirit in the scriptures is translated as pneuma, which is breath, the Holy Spirit, the holy breath that animates all life. It's the pranayama. And so there's this movie, The Green Mile, and there's this scene on there where this, I'm sure you're familiar with it, but
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah, so there's one of the prison guards who's suffering with, I think he had kidney stones or something like that. He had stuff going on with him, and it was ailing him. And the prisoner, the big giant guy, eventually, just out of the blue, had compassion for this guy and knew what he was going through in the nights, and guy wasn't able to sleep, and he was in so much pain and sweating. And he grabbed him and sucked it in through his breath. He took a big gasp in and then exhaled it out. And then in the movie, it showed all these like flies or something. And demonic spirits is seen as flies in the Bible. That's Hollywood. That's a movie. But I've been in situations where we will be laying hands on people, and I would feel that energy. And I've done just intuitively sucked the energy in and then released it. And when I did, that person broke. Liberty, freedom came. I felt the release and I felt the thing leave. Have you had any encounters or experiences with the breath, or do you know anything about that when it comes to the spirit realm and releasing trauma, or even just the confession is the breath? We're just confessing it and releasing the breath. Does that ring a bell for you at all?
Yeah, so I mean, generally when people are in pain or when they're dealing with some sort of trauma, they're going to, breathe very shallow, because when there's some sort of trauma, sometimes it's like the breath, it's like they take a gasp in, right? But then that breath never leaves, it gets stuck in the body. So again, usually people that have some sort of trauma or some sort of overwhelming experience to them, that happens to them rather, they can have very shallow breathing. So, just the act of deep breathing can help with healing, and it can help with releasing pain. I love your example, Derek, of laying on of hands and how you could feel that that person had some sort of emotional imbalance going on, and then you felt it, and then you were able to release it, right? So that's like a perfect example about what I was talking about earlier, is when I work with people, I energetically connect to them, right? Like when you were laying your hands on that person, you were energetically connected to them, but you were in the same room. Whereas when I'm doing it, me and this other person, we might be on opposite sides of the U.S. Same sort of idea. So when I work with people, I can usually feel like where they have imbalances in their body. Sometimes I can feel their emotions, and so I notice for myself when I release an emotion for a person, I will oftentimes take a very deep breath because I'm actually connected to that person. So I think in that deep breath, that helps that energy to move. It helps that energy to release. Excuse me. So, that's been my experience with using the breath and with healing. But exactly like you said, there are things like pranayama, which can be very, very powerful. I know that I've done yoga in the past, so yoga uses a lot of the breath to kind of breathe into stuck, tight areas, to release emotion, to release tightness, and so forth. So, yes, I agree. It's something that can be very, very powerful, for healing.
Okay, so you mentioned being able to feel the emotions and things like that. This is a good part of the conversation because the spirit of discernment comes in to be able to discern. Like you say, if you're doing Reiki or you're moving your hands over someone or lay hands or even just over the phone, you're there with them spiritually. You're able to feel blockages, and I'll do like massage and stuff like that on my wife, and I know I know intuitively like where to go, where she's holding up tension at, you know, intuitively. That's being able to tap into the intuitive side of the discernment of spirits, essentially discernment of energy. We'll say that. Being able to feel the emotions. So there's a lot of people, especially this is one of the biggest reasons why I'm doing this show and I do what I do, is because there's a lot of young people who I think are sensitive to the spirit realm, who are able to sense when energies are around them, if their parents are involved with something that they shouldn't. Like the kids are able to feel this kind of stuff. They know when their friends are depressed. They can, because they feel it within their auric field. They feel it within their body. So it can drive a lot of people mad if you feel the energy, especially at a young age. If you can feel the energy, but you don't know what it is, you've never heard a conversation like this. All you know is when you go to Walmart, you feel one way on this aisle, you feel one way on this aisle. People are really empathetic, and they're just being kind of pushed around by the energies, but they don't even know that this is a thing. So this is one reason why I love talking about this stuff. What happens, because I know it's something that we're called to, and it's just the early awakening symptoms. I think we're all born with being able to feel these types of energies. Have you had any encounters or talked to anybody? Because like they'll feel that stuff and they'll think it's for them. I mean, it happened to me. I would be in large groups of people. I would go deaf in one ear, and I'm freaking out. I think something's wrong with my ear. I have a pain in my back. I can't move my neck. Something weird. And luckily I would be in services or small groups of people where I was able to speak it out and say, hey, anybody having neck issues? Is anybody deaf in your left ear? And I've been in church services and in small groups of people where I've been able to speak it out. And that person, yes, it's me. My ear, I haven't been able to hear for years. And then we pray over them. We lay hands on, we command the ear to open up and release the energy, things like that. And the person's able to hear. So, but if we don't know what that energy is, especially like me and so many other people, you're going through Walmart, you're going deaf in your ear. You walk down the aisle, you get fear upon you. Like, well, I'm freaking out in Walmart. And if you don't know how to balance those energies, there's pills and there's things that the doctors will give you to quiet the energies and the voices. So I think it's really important. So you're talking about being able to feel the emotions, feel the energy, feel stuff in your body. What would you say to people who are going through that? First thing to tell them is that they're not alone and it's okay, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they're not alone. It is okay. A couple of things come to mind with that. So in the emotion code, we can absorb or we can take on other people's emotions. So those are basically called absorbed, trapped emotions. So when I work with people, I'm able to find what those emotions are that they took on from other people and then release them. And when that happens, the person says, "Oh, thank God, I'm back to feeling like myself again." Because when we have that trapped emotion, sometimes we think that that emotion is ours, but it's not. So I've noticed for myself, when I take on other people's emotions, I can feel it in my body. And I've had days where I've said, you know what, I just don't feel like myself, but I don't know why. So that's usually a clue to me that, okay, I've connected with someone, I've taken on their emotion, and their emotion is in my body, and I'm feeling that as something like foreign, kind of like a virus or a bacteria, something that's not really supposed to be there. There are a couple of other things too with the emotion code. So is something called inherited trapped emotions. So what's really interesting about that is we can take on emotions that our parents felt or that our grandparents felt,
Yeah.
and sometimes it can go back generationally. So to give you an example, if my grandfather's great grandfather had a strong emotion that he was unable to release, then that gets passed on to my grandfather, and then that gets passed down the line until it's passed to me. So then I am holding that generational trapped emotion in my body, right? And so again, that can imbalance the physical body in the sense of pain. That can imbalance the emotions. So again, I can find specifically what those trapped emotions are and then release them. And then I have two other examples for you really quickly. So the third one is something called a preconception emotion. And this is an emotion that we can take on from our mother while we're still in the womb. Because when we're in our mother's womb, she can have a million different emotions. So she's unable to release those, then that gets passed on to the baby. And then again, the baby grows up and has those trapped emotions stuck in their body. And then the fourth example is something called a preconception emotion. And what that is before we're born, when we're with God or wherever we are, sometimes we can have emotions about being born into a physical body. So whether that's fear, whether that's maybe an emotion of we don't really want to leave where we are, we want to kind of hang out there forever. So sometimes we can carry those emotions in with us. And again, that causes our body to go out of balance, or it can, it can change the way that we feel emotionally. And I have a really quick story about that, if that's okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I worked with a woman a while ago, and she was explaining to me that, and she was in her 50s, and she was explaining to me that every day, birthday, she would wake up and she would just be sad, you know, despite the well wishes from her family, despite getting together with friends, getting presents, having birthday cake, all that stuff. She just kind of had this underlying feeling of sadness and she could never figure it out. So when I connected with her and we started to work together, I found that she had this preconception emotion. I think it was either sadness or sorrow is what came up on the chart. And so I released that emotion for her. And once that emotion was released, she could feel it. And ever since then, every time on her birthday now, she's been happy and she's enjoyed it and she's had a great time, you know? So it's interesting how we can carry those emotions in with us, And then there's also something, I don't know if you've heard about it, Derek, but it's called a highly sensitive person. So this is, and it's a certain, a small percentage of the population where psychologists have shown that these people, they have, their nervous system is wired a little differently in a sense, that they are going to be just more sensitive to other people, and they're going to be more sensitive to the environment and noises around them. There's actually there are a number of books out there about highly sensitive people. So if you're one of these people where you feel like you just take on everyone's emotions, it's something that I would recommend, that you look into. And, if you want to work with me, we can work with releasing those trapped emotions that aren't yours.
lot of good points there, especially about the generational thing. And you know, it's a biblical thing too. They call it generational curses, and it's essentially like being on default, and it's not nothing that you do to inherit it. It's just passed down through the lineage, and so you're able to stop that. You know, and I've seen in cases within my own family of things that people haven't dealt with, and what they say, like father like son, is the expression, and it really is that you're taking on the qualities. You're a little version of your parents and of your grandparents, and you take on the things by default. So we have to, like, that's by default. So we have to actively do something to stop the curse, to what we say reverse the curse, and turn it around for, you know what I'm saying, for your generation and for your children's children as well. And just as they're able to receive curses, they're able to receive blessings as well. And that's something good for us to talk about as well. As far as dealing with energy, once negative energy is gone, you talked about the diet, which is something huge. There's, you know, I think a lot of us are feeling certain types of ways, or not able to experience emotions because of the diet that we're on, the stuff that we're putting within our body, garbage in, garbage out. There's large studies out there right now about gut bacteria, and basically your gut or your stomach being a ecosystem for the way that you feel, or you're going to feel for the next 6 months or so, 3 to 6 months, is that you're always being reborn. You're always being rebuilt, the way that you feel, the way that your brain works, by what you put in your mouth. And so that plays a huge part upon the way that we feel. If we're going to, you know, if we're always tired and sluggish and all of these kind of things, it's about the things that we're putting in our body, or the things that we're not putting in our body at that. So that's big when it comes to that. But what are some, if we was to reverse it real quick, like what are some of the blessings or some of the good things that we can impart, whether it's speaking kind words to other people, and that brings them into a higher vibrational state. They feel better. They feel more encouraged, that they can embrace the day, fulfill their dreams. There's this notion in the Bible, man, it's really deep, but it's about casting out demons. When we talk about casting out demons, it's simply talking about thought patterns and ideas that we've accepted as our own, that are foreign, that are not supposed to be there. Strongholds is what the Bible calls it. So the manifestations get real weird and scary and demonic if they can be, but at the very base level, it's ungodly beliefs that we've accepted about our life. But casting off these vain imaginations that are not supposed to be there. There's a story, it goes back to the Old Testament, of Solomon and Queen Sheba, where she had all of these like ideas and things that she was going to prove him wrong and make fun of him and his beliefs and his God. And she had all these questions. And so he answered all of her questions, and she thought she was going to stump him in all of this. So anyway, he answered all of her questions with wisdom and grace and peace. And by doing that, those spirits, she had evil spirits on her, and those spirits left simply by answering her questions, and essentially through conversation. He was, I like to say, he's casting out off demons by conversations with this person. And that's when you're walking at a higher level, that you could just have a conversation with someone and they feel lighter after speaking to you. You're ministry minded. You're going in here with the reason you're sensitive to the spirit realm. You know about energy and how it operates, and how if your parents have talked down to you your whole life, and then somebody comes along and say, hey, I believe in you, man. You have great things ahead of you. Like, that's revolutionary just in a conversation. But imparting blessings and speaking blessings, where does that come in with energy work for you?
Yeah, a couple of things. So I would say that when I'm working with clients, I never give up on them. Even though they might be going through some pretty difficult stuff, I know that they have it within themselves to really heal. So even though they might feel discouraged, or even though they might be having a bad day, like I said, I never give up on them. I'm always encouraging them. If they, if they're in physical pain, for example, I often remind them that they have a choice to either focus on the pain, or to to really live a life of gratitude. So to give you an example, if I have neck pain, I can either focus all of my energy and my thoughts on my neck pain and how bad it is and how maybe I when I move, it hurts my neck, or I can focus on the fact that, there are like 1,000 things in my body that are working just perfectly, just as they're supposed to right now, you know? And so when you make that shift, um, it's an energetic shift where it's like, okay, yes, my neck is there, but there are other areas where I'm working just fine. So it's shifting people's mindset in that way. So I would say, yeah, it's never giving up on clients. Just reminding them that they have within them what they need to heal.
Two more questions for you before we get off of here. I want to address there's a big difference between getting healing and repressing this energy and emotions. And without giving too much information, I'll just say that I come from a family that has a lot of baggage, hard childhood, rough upbringing. Me and two other siblings and my mom pretty much grew up together from house to house. She was from man to man, things like that. Went through a lot of stuff. I took the path. I was in dark witchcraft, dealing with spirits on a negative side. Got healing, got into church, got away from that stuff, and went on this road of self-discovery, healing, confessing my wrongs, forgiving people who have wronged me. You're like going through just years, and then going through the deliverance sessions like I spoke about, where we're just like naming these things off and addressing it, speaking freedom, casting out of demons is what they call it in Christianity. All that stuff going on in my life. And then I come to a place where like I'm healed from it. That stuff doesn't bother me. I'm over it. I understand that I have sympathy and I have empathy towards those people who have wronged me. Those things, you get healing, man. You approach, you view life differently. You view differently. You have more compassion. Those maybe some siblings or whatever, my mom, we've all went through similar trauma, and they repressed it. They hid it. They act like it didn't happen. I don't think we can get healing by acting like it didn't happen. We have to address the fact that it did. And we have to turn it into alchemy. We have to use the things that are against us for our good, part of our story, and learn from it, grow from it. I've talked about similar things, and I'm okay with it now with the family. To them, man, like I said, they try to repress things, and there's a lot of people repressing it, acting like it didn't happen, or telling themselves like whether it's playing the victim or whatever. But I've brought stuff up, man, and I've seen people have panic attacks, like mentioning stuff that I'm okay with now. Like I understand but they're not. Like they haven't gotten healing. They haven't spent years confessing and offering forgiveness. Like they're still offended. I'm talking about stuff that's happened 30 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And on many different levels. And it's sad to see some people hold on to this stuff. It's my desire that everyone will walk in healing and walk in surrender and forgiveness. There's a big difference there as far as getting healing and then repressing it, acting like it didn't happen. Because when you're confronted with the stuff, it just comes up and it's like a flood, whether it's memories or feelings or emotions or whatever. We spoke healing to that. And I guess I can that statement can move on to this last question I got. Starting new endeavors, right? So we encourage people to pursue their dreams, find out that vision that they want for themselves in different ways to achieve that through spiritual practice and through mindfulness, through meditation. How important is it to get healing, to find healing before we open a new area of our lives where we may have a platform, or we start a business, or we go into business endeavor with others, and then other people are going to be affected by it. There's Christian ministers who are still bitter at other ministers or other churches or denominations, of parents, of pastors. Like they're operating, they're successful, but they're doing it out of bitterness. And every now and then you hear something slip, or they end up doing more damage than good from this place of position, whether it be a podcast, whether it be a church service or something like that. How important is it, do you think, to get healing before pursuing your vision?
Yeah, I think it is extremely important. You know, I'm sure you've heard the expression, wherever you go, there you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you know, to give you an example, if I'm in a job that I absolutely hate, you know, there are going to be trapped emotions and other things inside of me that are contributing to that.
Yeah.
So say that I quit that job and then I go to another job. And then eventually it's like, oh, I hate this job too. You know, it's not the job, it's the person that hasn't changed,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like when you start to clear out all that stuff, you know, it changes you, and it can change how you show up in the world. It can help you to, you know, pursue some of your visions and some of your goals, because you're different. You know, you no longer kind of have that energetic charge around maybe a little bit of fear of, like, you know, can I really do this? You know, as you were talking about your family and the experiences that you've had with that, that reminded me that, you know, when they have that panic attack,
Yeah.
there's something inside of them that needs healing. You know,
Mhm.
there's something inside of them that needs to be resolved, and that panic attack, um, it's kind of like the, you know, the alert button going on in their
Yeah.
system, letting them know, okay, there's something here that needs to be resolved. Because if it was resolved already, similar to, like you said, you can think back to the incident, but you no longer have that energetic charge behind it. You know, you can think about it, you can talk about it, and you're calm, and you can intelligently discuss it, and you're fine with it. But there's no longer those emotions that come up around it, you know. So yeah, I think it's critical, you know, that we work on ourselves so that we can pursue our goals and our dreams.
Awesome, brother. Well, I really enjoyed this episode, man. I enjoyed this conversation with you. Go ahead and share your links out. If people want to check out your work, you have more interviews, you got a bunch of articles and stuff like that, and you are available for private sessions as well. Go ahead and share your website and where people can check out your work, man.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So my website is the first one that I have coming up is on July 19th, and it's called Secrets to Pain Relief Without Medication. So if people go onto my website, they can go ahead and sign up for that.
Awesome, brother. Thanks for coming on. I really enjoyed this one, man, and I hope you did too. I enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you so much, Derek. I enjoyed myself too.
All right, we'll have to do it again soon, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks.
All right, bless.
Yeah.
Nick Kidawski, ladies and gentlemen. I really enjoyed this episode. Really good stuff. I love talking about healing in general and the different ways that we are to receive it and we are to walk in it, man. A lot of good topics discussed. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys did too. I hope that I was able to ask some questions that many of you guys who are on the fence, many of you guys who want healing, many of you guys who are called to be healers, right? The message I got from God some years ago now was to heal the healers. I understand my vision. I understand my call, that there's many of you, the majority of you guys are light workers. Many of you guys are called to help people do what I'm doing, do what Nick is doing, Many people in the chat, Christy Lee, do what you guys are doing. Allie Graham, we had a huge discussion about this the other day. I know that's my role, to encourage you, to equip you to be a healer. So it's essentially healing the healers. Everybody, when I was doing private sessions, who came to me was usually people who wanted to do what I was doing, and they understood that. They understood that they had things that they had to get over. They needed help dealing with trauma. They needed guidance on what it would look like to even do that. So you go to someone who's already doing it. So that there was a lot of that early on when I was doing private sessions with people, and I seen that many people want to be free. I don't think there's not a lot of people who want to be bitter or want to stay in this place of discouragement and anxiety and like all this nasty stuff that comes up. Yes, it does become familiar to us. It does. That a lot of times our identity is hidden within that stuff, whether it's what we would call biblically a familiar spirit. Like there's this other entity who feels like it's a part of us. Like this entity has been with you for so long that you feel like it's a part of you, but it's not there. It's something foreign. It's not supposed to be there. These thoughts about yourself, these thoughts about God, these thoughts about Christians, these thoughts about whoever, man, it's affecting the way that we view people, from generational curses, from learned behavior, all of this type of energy work. Christy Folk says tulpas. Yeah, you watch the little documentary that I put together. It's called Persona, and it's talking about tulpas, it's talking about daemons, it's talking about familiar spirits and all of this stuff. But you create these entities, you sign contracts unknowingly with these entities to come in and change the way you think, change the way that you perceive. And it gets pretty deep, man. Make sure you guys check that out. That's really deep, man. The persona thing. And when it comes to demonic possession, it was just insane. Went over to Allie Graham's house. She's over here in chat, Allie and Kenny's house. And I was talking about someone who was into creating a persona using mask. And, you know, I don't know if it's safe to say, but I think this person got possessed. This person had to go to the doctor by the persona that they created taking over their psyche. Started acting like the character even with the mask off. That's crazy, man. We're in a spiritual warfare, ladies and gentlemen. I really believe that. I believe that there's just as there's internet going on, there's Wi-Fi, there's cell phone frequencies that are going on right now that we can't see. There's energy that's traveling, electricity. It's going on around us right now where everybody's scared about the 5G, and the 5G is going to hurt us in our auric field in the way we act, and it's going to be able to control us. Like that stuff's already happening spiritually, and you have to be on top of it. You're either going to be victim or victor. And if you don't know that there's a war, then you're just pushed around by every energy, by every wind of doctrine, belief system that's going on out there. But those of you who understand what's going on, you can be offensive. You can play on the offense. You don't just have to respond to any trick of the enemy, or you don't have to respond to your haters or whatever the case is. You can offensively pursue the kingdom of darkness and say the kingdom of heaven suffers violent, and the violent take it by force. We have to understand that there's a spiritual battle. We have to understand that there's positive and negative energy behind anything that we do. Anything that we do, and you can be a victim. They can suck your energy, psychic vampires. All of these things exist and are going on. And so if we understand, then we can be on the offense. We could be victors. We don't have to be pushed around. We could be victors and not victims. I'm going to read some of these comments here. If anybody has a comment, leave it in the chat and I'll try to address it. Allie says, Truth and Aaron are treasures. Absolutely the coolest couple I've known. And it just got passed up. Thank you guys. Let's see. Yep, we have to lift each other up in prayer. We have to join in with one another just to simply say, You're not alone. That's been one of the biggest things. So easy to let somebody know that. And I just try to say it on here. You're not alone. You know what I'm saying? I know we've all felt that. We've all felt that way. Nobody knows what I'm going through. Nobody's ever experienced this and all of this kind of stuff. But we got to know that we're not alone. There's other people going through very similar things. And sometimes we need somebody to talk to. Sometimes we need some understanding. Obviously, we can always go to our Creator. We can go directly to God. But it's good to have brothers and sisters who believe in you, who have been in similar situations, because they have some wisdom. And I hope that that's what you're getting here. You know, some wisdom. I don't really like to address or talk about conspiracies, but I do like to talk about the things that we can apply to our lives. And I think that even in this energy healing, like many of you guys have I know that's plain. I'm speaking from experience. People go into Walmart and walking down one aisle, you feel sad. You go down the next aisle, you're anxious. You go down the next aisle, you're this, you're that. And you're being pushed around by all the spirits. You're being pushed around by what everybody else has been entertaining, the spirits that are on them. Look, this stuff can be intimidating. When you're talking to someone and they have spirits on them that are trying to intimidate you in conversation, and this stuff is deep, man. We have to band together. This is why we have community here. The Discord is open for those of you guys who want to get into community and get into conversation with us. We do the Thursday night School of the Mystics. Discord is open. There's always somebody in Discord. I try to jump in there and chat as much as I can, whether it's chatting, audio chatting, or text chatting. Every morning I jump in and people are on the job texting and telling everybody good morning and praying for one another. Make sure you, if you're looking for community, man, the link is in the description. Go to that Discord link. You can download it on your phone. You can download it on your computer. And I try to jump in there and talk and chat as much as I can while I'm doing idle stuff that allows me to do so. So if you're looking for community, man, it's here. We've created this thing. I want to thank everybody for supporting, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. This wouldn't exist. Like this episode, whoever this helps, not even this whole podcast. And I want to reassure you that this is helping people. Like, you're sowing into good ground. This is going out. The word of God does not return void. I get so many messages in my inboxes of people, say inboxes on every platform, from people who have been impacted, not only by the podcast, but by my music. I couldn't make that music without you guys. Like, I appreciate you guys, man. Like, literally, I want to let you know, like, how much, man. And I'm wanting to continue to build, to continue to bring things and make this thing interactive and give you guys a voice too. Many of you guys are called. You guys are anointed to do things in your life, and I'm seeing the growth in people, and it's beautiful. So thank you guys for supporting my work. Again, I couldn't do it without you. Those who want to support, you can head on over to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. The link is in the descriptions, and sign up for any level of giving, even $1, man. You know, whatever you can do, it would mean the world. But lives are being changed. Chris says impacted. Lives are being impacted, and I think you guys share in the benefits of that. Literally, you know, and I say this, and I don't know why I keep reiterating this, but I've had people tell me not to say it. They tell me don't say the fact that I couldn't do this without your help. But quite literally, to be honest, I couldn't. They said don't say that. That sounds so. They don't like the fact that I say I couldn't do it without your help. But it's true. I would be driving a truck right now, working 17 plus hours a day, which was what I was doing to provide for my family. But you guys help support the music. You help support the podcast, keeping the lights on, paying for this kind of stuff, man. And we're about to take this thing to the next level, stepping it up. Can't get comfortable. Got to step it up. We new music, new videos. Still coming. I'm still writing. As long as it's coming, I'm gonna be obedient to scribe it down. And there's some good stuff. Chris Barr says people are scared to be authentic, and it's understandable. When you've been fake your whole life, man, or you've been a chameleon, you know, and we've all been that. We've all been. I mean, we all know people, and we've all been in situations where when we go around a certain person, we act like that person. When we go around these friends, we act like that. Chris, you know people that they couldn't go around you because you smoke too much. They go around you, they gotta smoke. And it's not that you made them, it's that you presented the opportunity, and they're just not like authentic in themselves. They don't have the power to say no. You have to know yourself, right? So it's about being authentic in who you are and not being a chameleon. Get some identity for yourself. Know who you are. Our identity is found in Christ, man. Knowing who you are. Know thyself. To thine own self be true. Don't be a chameleon, man. Be a trendsetter. Go out here and change the vibration. You need to be that person. When you show up, they conform to your image, right? Because that's what's happening. But you walking in the image of Christ, you're doing the world a good. You're positive. They were like, man, I just want to be as positive as you. Encourage them. Encourage them for whatever they want to do, whatever they want to build. And don't be a victim, but be a victor. Set the vibration. Be who you are. Find out why you're here. The two greatest days in a person's life is the day they were born and the day they find out why they were born. You got to know that. Stop being a chameleon. Walk in your true identity. Change the world, man. Bring forth peace, healing, inner guidance to people. Do it, man. You guys can. I'm proud of all you guys, man. You guys are awesome. I really love my community, man. I need you guys just as much as you so-called need me. You don't need me, but I need you guys just as much. So it's a team effort. It really is. Look in the description. All those links are there for a reason. Connect with us. Love you guys. With that, I'm going to say peace and shalom. We'll do this again very soon. Thank you, guys. Peace, peace.
Your way so much higher than mine, so much higher than mine, so much deeper than mine, so much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.